All right. All right. Welcome in, folks. This is Community Curations with your host, the Gothic Storyteller. And with us is the wonderful and always amazing StevieSarah. Stevie, how you
Hello.
doing, love?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm pretty nervous, I'm not gonna lie. We made it to a
No.
season 1 finale though. Like
That's
season 1
awesome.
already. It's
Congratulations.
we're recording in November, folks, for those listening. But this will be coming out for those that aren't here for the live show. This will be coming out in December. So technically, yes, it is gonna close it out. I've been doing this since January, and I took July off. Um, and it feels great. It feels great when you hit a 1 year mark on a podcast, or close to it. Technically, we still got an extra month, but still, I've been working my ass off on this since December of last year. Um, and
Let's go.
we've had so many wonderful people on here from uh oh my god, now I'm put on spotlight, from Steven Way and everything, a guy that I went all the way back in film school with. Awesome dude. We need to have him back on here for another proper interview. Oh my god, I'm tripping here. We've had my sis on here. We've had, I think, three mods. Yeah, we have Nova, we've had Sis, we've had Jessica Jones. uh we'll have Carver sooner or later on here. We'll bring Carver in here. Welcome in, folks. We've
Hi,
had
everyone.
Lay Izzle, and we've had Mift as our recent ones. And I can't wait to add to the list. We have Stevie added to the list. Like, I figured this probably should have been shared more towards the end of like this celebration, but I really wanted to get that out of the way because
He's saving
Stevie's
the best for last.
pretty fucking much saving the best for last. So um Stevie, tell us a little about yourself. Who is StevieSarah?
Who is Stevie Sarah? Stevie Sarah is a daydreamer, a creative go-getter. I'm a pianist. I'm a friend to all animals. I'm a wandering artist. I'm a streamer. I'm a gamer. Uh, yeah, I'm lots of things. But here on Twitch, I tend to focus on playing games. But in real life, I do a lot of things. I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own Etsy shop. Yeah, I'm constantly keeping busy with creative things.
I love that. And I didn't really sit there and realize you did all of those things all at once. Like, I knew of
Well,
some of
not
those
maybe not
things.
all at once.
Yeah, but like, oh my god, good to know I'm not the only one that, like, there is almost in a sense no days off until my brain is like, oh, you're taking a fucking day off. It's like
Right.
you haven't had a day off in weeks, and it's like, ah, shit. All right, but to tab on that, how long have you been streaming?
It's so funny. I think it's been 3 years now, but I took a really long break
Yeah.
in between. So I recently started up again, been trying to build up my community more, build up the followers, build up the friendships. Um, yeah, I mean it's a hustle, as you guys know, if you guys are streamers yourselves. What's a day off, right? Right, Bird? Exactly.
Right? What
So,
is
yeah, but recently just starting to hustle again, play some amazing games. But yeah, I think it's been 3 years now.
hmm And I met you through the horror historian, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I met you through. Well, I don't know if I want to sit there and say his name out there. A lot of people know his name, but I'll save that for the horror historian episode, hopefully in
Mhm.
season 2. We'll see. But I met you through him, and ever since then I have been smitten. I'm like,
I
I
know. I love
love
you too.
it. But, well, also too, this isn't like our first collaboration because we did some writing in the past and everything, and maybe we'll get back to that too.
We need to.
Yeah, I have a project in mind, and I think I finally have come to terms of I need a partner. I need a writing partner to keep my ass on track. So yeah. um but yeah, so I met you through there. We've collabed a few. I've been on your stream before a few times, and
Yeah,
this is, I think, the first time I think I've actually had you on my stream,
I
for
think so.
one.
I think
So
so.
yeah, like we've had like a bit of a somewhat relationship for what, about a year and a half now.
Yeah, I'd have to check my followage
Yeah.
on your.
and
And
everything.
actually see.
And it's great too because when you came back, that's when I started getting to know Carver, and so it's like I get exposed to like all these wonderful people, um, in your community, and it's like, damn it, it's
Likewise.
this is what I love just about Twitch in general. It's when you connect with someone else and they can introduce you to other wonderful people. I know I'll probably say it over 1,000 times, but thank you so much for introducing me to your community. Uh,
Oh,
that is
thank you
so awesome.
too.
And also too, just for me to sit there and lurk in your streams while you play all the RPGs and everything.
The crazy stuff that I play.
Castlevania 64 was a new one for me. Did not even know that they were even making shit for the Super Nintendo at that
Oh
point. I thought they
yeah.
just skipped that system and they waited until afterwards, and then you showed me that and I was like,
No, and don't hate in the chat, please. Castlevania 64 is my favorite Castlevania. I actually speedrun it, so
yeah.
once I do that again, I can do all kinds of glitches and stuff.
Also too, it's like just the boss battles of that. I was like, wow, really? Those were the boss battles like of that time? It's like it felt like they were on to something. Like
Mhm.
it wasn't perfected, but what's your favorite game?
My favorite game of all time
Hmm.
is Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda.
I knew that was going to be a Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah,
I knew.
yes.
Yeah. So you've been streaming for about 3 years, but you did sit there and take a hiatus. Streaming's not the only thing you've done. You've also worked in film, which is obviously a big interest of mine. If you guys have been here,
Yes.
film is a big thing. I only really have one short film to my name, but I have worked on many others, and I've only worked a little bit on a feature film, but did not get credit for it. But at the same time, I was like a nobody PA, so it's like I'm like I'll let that go. That was my first one, and it was kind of school related, so I was like I'll let that one go. Um, so when did you get the passion for film? Because you work in makeup. Let me first say
Right.
you work in
So yeah, let me
makeups.
let me preface by saying I am a makeup artist. I've been doing makeup for over 15 years, professionally. My first major gig was with Sephora. Actually, I won a competition and was chosen as an international makeup artist for the company. So I would travel around doing all their promotional work, all of their interviews, their media, their images, their campaign ads, and also testing makeup. So I started out with that. I did New York Fashion Week about 7 times. I worked Coachella, worked on the artists at Coachella.
Mhm.
I've been published in Vogue a couple of times, Vogue magazine, Elle magazine. I was rated a Beauty Genius Award by Elle magazine, um, back in my 20s, and I've also worked for Netflix, magazines, movies, TV. So yeah,
You say
the
20s
whole
like it's
shebang.
you say 20s like it's so far away when you still look like you're in your 20s.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm in my 30s now, so it's
But
been
still
a decade
that's a
worth of
lot.
work.
That's a lot
Yes.
of accomplishments that you've done in your time, and that was just with Sephora starting it all. How much of that
Started off,
was with
kickstarted it.
Sephora? Like
They kickstarted it, and then I actually started my own business. So I
okay.
moved to Chicago and I opened my own studio. And my mom actually is a famous hair artist. And we collaborated together
Oh.
and we worked on a bunch of things that were published. And yeah, the notoriety kind of just grows from there. The more you network, the more people you know, the more work you get.
Yeah. So you had told me offline that also too you modeled and did work for your sister's spray tanning business as well.
Yeah,
So you've worked a lot with family. How do you maintain that without losing your bloody mind?
because I'm super close with my family. My sister and my mom are my best friends.
Aw.
So we call each other the triangle, like 3 points of the triangle. Like we are there for each other. We keep each other stable. We keep each other strong. I mean, that's what keeps me going.
Well, that's lovely and everything.
Mhm.
Do you guys still like do some work like today? Like, do you guys like still like have certain projects of like, I need you to model for this. I need you to do makeup. need you to do,
I
or
haven't, I haven't done a lot of modeling lately. And of course, my mom is always doing my hair. So anytime I want to change my hair, it's thanks to her.
oh my
I've never
God.
had to go anywhere else.
Well, that's
So, but yeah,
nice.
we're kind of taking it easy right now, focusing on some other things. But
Oh,
yeah, it's definitely always been a family thing.
gotcha. You think your mom can do my hair next? Like,
Oh, I do.
I really want to
You've got
emphasize the
beautiful
gray.
hair.
I got the gray though. Like the camera doesn't show too well, but over here you start seeing the gray and the silver, and I'm like,
I love it. Let it. It's like the Fantastic Four. Let it go.
yeah, kinda. But instead of off over here, it's just streaked over here. So
Let it happen.
I'm
Let it
going for
happen.
that male rogue, but like from what was it,
Yeah.
X-Men Evolution? Like just have the McDonald's.
Oh, so I have to
You
tell you,
know,
did I tell you that I worked with Stan Lee?
really, what did you do with Stan Lee for?
I was Stan Lee's makeup artist
Really?
when I lived in Los Angeles. Yes. So I was at his house, um, did a bunch of events with him. He's one of the most amazing people I've met in my life. He was really smitten with me. We had a lot of really nice conversations. Um, we worked a lot one on one together. And yeah, it's probably one of my best memories of being in the makeup industry and living in Los Angeles.
And you got to like meet like essentially one of the giant pillars of the comic book industry too while
Yeah.
doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yes.
you I'm pretty sure you are a comics fan because I do believe I think I've
Oh,
seen you didn't have you cosplayed as something like that?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was in LA, I was deep into the comic industry,
Mm-hmm.
a lot. So now not so much because I'm not in Los Angeles anymore, but yes, I was working predominantly with the comic book industry in Los Angeles.
So like did you ever have like any I guess comic book chit chats with Stan of all
Yes.
like anything of all like what why did the Hulk do this or almost like those nerd kind of questions where Stan's all like just do my makeup and stop.
No, Stan and I talked about very personal things.
Oh, okay.
I told him that at one point I told him that I own a Mustang GT, a red convertible, and he just talked about how he'd like to drive away with me in the Mustang off into the sunset and escape everything. We talked a lot about other things,
Well, that's
so more intimate things.
well, that's sweet and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like to meet Stanley. Like I've never gotten that chance. I've met like a few big names, but I think meeting Stanley that's like up there with meeting Brad Pitt or uh what's his name? Tom Cruise, which we may talk about those guys later. I wasn't just name dropping random actors
That was
for any
good.
reason.
That was good.
There's some foreshadowing there. My brain had a stroke midway doing it. Um, so how long have you been working? I guess are you still considering like yourself like I'm still in the industry, or have you just kind of stepped away from the industry a bit?
Kind of stepped away from the industry for a bit to kind of focus on other things. I'm always pursuing my passions, and my passions change. Um, so yeah, right now I'm kind of focusing on other things, but it's always in my blood. If anybody asks me to do anything makeup, I'll be right there to do it.
I was about to sit there and say it was like if you got that call from LA, hey, we need
Oh yeah, hey.
because I think when me and you started talking, you were editing for a reality show. Like you were scrubbing through footage for like I think a reality thing,
Yeah,
and I'm like over here, it's all like, oh god, that's a job. Like God, I could do that.
yeah.
And
Well,
so
yeah, you
were you
could, you
like
could.
assistant editor or something like that?
No, I was working in reality television as a transcriber captionist.
What is that?
So that is a transcriber in reality television is someone who helps the editors find the content that they want to use for the show. So I watch every bit of footage, which is not all interesting. I type out everything everybody is saying, no matter who they are, and then the editor goes back in and finds keywords or uses keywords to find interesting pieces of the episode that he would like to feature. So if someone's talking about something naughty or if someone's talking about something dangerous or exciting, he uses my transcription to find the clip and compile the episode.
So you're like a, oh my god, I have the title of it because I was somewhat that job there, but it's like the person that goes through the script and everything and make sure it's like,
Yeah.
hey, we're using a shot. Okay, sweet, use a shot, write down the notes and everything. Make sure everything is in continuity, nothing's left out. So
What?
it's kind of almost like in the sense of that, but in the reality television world. So was there like no script? I'm guessing, and you helped in a
No.
sense make the story.
You know what? I guess that's a really good way to put it.
It's almost like a screenwriter just minus like having to bash your head against the wall praying you could get something tight. You're over here, it's like,
Yeah,
I'm sifting through this stuff's been filmed, we're making the story out of
exactly.
that. Is something.
Yeah. And Bird or Matt, if I've done it live, I've done it live for court reporting. I've
Mm,
never done it live for reality TV, but I have done court reporting too. I'm a really fast typist. I think it's the piano player in me, so I just type.
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I've done court reporting live.
Well, that's epic. Like I'm learning a lot more about you here, and it's all like learning that job. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I did that. I didn't do it well, but I did that job essentially.
Right?
Like, it's why was it called back? Because I think I screwed up one shot where it's like this was supposed to be here, and I was like, ah, crap. I was working on everything else except that.
Right.
So then after that, I was like, wait, take a snapshot, and they're like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm using this to make sure my eyes aren't screwing with me, and make sure everything is in continuity. Um, so makeup, you are a, what is the title again?
Everything. I've dabbled a little bit in everything Gothic.
It's a
I've lived a
life.
long life already. I've lived a long life already. I speak Japanese fluently. I've been to Japan twice.
You studied that
Um,
in college, correct?
I started learning Japanese when I was like 13 years old. I started
Oh,
myself and then I went to community college and then I went to university.
okay. And then that's what led you to Japan as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So it wasn't just like a pleasure trip, but I'm guessing like it was like a student expedition.
No, no, no. I went with family.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay,
went with
okay.
family. I went with family once and then the second time I went by myself.
The family's all like, Stevie's been learning this over and over.
Yeah,
She
they felt
knows.
safe with me.
So
She can get us through.
so like I'm guessing then it's like anytime they went somewhere and they broke up, they had to argue. It's like, no, I get Stevie. It's like I get the translator. It's
We
like,
we stuck pretty close together. We stuck close together. But
okay, and
yeah,
everything.
going by myself was really, really very interesting. I was very young,
Is
so
was there anything specific during your second trip, like going there now without really having to worry, I guess, about family being there transcribed, that you can actually like like not express, but you can experience, the country all on your own? Was there something very special on that second
I think
trip?
there were a lot of special things, but I think the scariest thing was that I didn't have a phone. So using phones in Japan is a very different thing. You have to get a special cell phone out there and you have to get a special phone number. I went with maps that I had printed out on the computer first before I went. So I found out how to get everywhere using MapQuest.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so that
That would
was very
that
it was very 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 interesting, kind of scary sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the boat there of like, if I go there and my phone doesn't work, it's like, what what do I do?
Right.
That, like, that would definitely terrify me. It's like I gotta use maps now, which I'm the worst person with maps because I'll get you lost. I have
Oh,
no
Matt,
clue what Quest has written.
did you visit Japan, Matt? Sundata. You lived there
Oh, is that
for
what?
6 years.
Ah,
That's amazing.
is that like the whole transcribe? I lived there for 6 years.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He also lived there for 6 years.
Oh, okay. Lived in
Yes.
Japanese ghetto in Osaka for the last 6 years. Ah,
That's amazing.
I have like no clue what a Japanese ghetto would look like.
Matt, that must be amazing.
Hmm.
We'll have to talk about that.
Uh, moving through the it's very safe. Interesting.
Japan is very safe in general.
I was about to sit there and say because like yeah, there's not really there's guns, but like it's not like America where you know you walk outside and there's a toddler with like a rifle in hand. It's probably not like that. Hit me up.
No,
Yeah.
not
Um,
at all.
but moving on, we're gonna get into our first film.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, we have to move on. Yes, there are stabbings, Matt, but yes, we're moving on.
well, yeah, I figured that much and everything. You can't get rid of one weapon without something taking over. Um, we're going to be covering three vampire flicks that our wonderful Stevie has picked for us that mean a whole dear to her. So the first one that we're covering is Tom Holland's Fright Night, which is funny enough
Yes.
because I was meaning to cover that on the stream months ago. I think like in late September. And I was like, you know what? This is fine. We finally get to get that cover of Fright Night. Uh, what is Fright Night for those that do not know?
Fright Night is a supernatural horror film about a Charlie Brewster who discovers that his next door neighbor is a vampire. One of the things that I love the most about this movie is that it has Roddy McDowall as a vampire hunter, a classic vampire hunter. Um, and there's romance, there's action, there's suspense. Chris Sarandon plays Jerry Dandridge, who is the vampire, and he kind of like dabbles in between Charlie's relationship with his girlfriend, and it's a great film. It's a great film. It has everything like a classic '80s movie has, but you put vampires in it. It's got the sex appeal. It's got the great soundtrack. It's got the
Yes.
moody vibes. And it's got that payoff in the end where it's just everybody's the 80s payoff where everything's okay.
Yeah, like when I at least look at it, it definitely feels like this is something Universal would have done with a vampire film. But
Right.
take that whole setting back in the 40s or really the 30s and then throw it here in the 80s 50 years later and it's like, wow, this still works. For something that like people kind of thought like, vampires are all burned out, like we're tired of the hammer stuff and then Tom Holland's right here. It's like, well, wait,
I
there's
know.
more, you know.
It made like 29 million, I think, in the box office too.
Did it?
Yeah, which is pretty good for back then.
I definitely know it was the lowest budget for the studio. I can't for the life of me. I don't think it was a Universal Studio film, but it was the lowest budget they gave to that film that year. And yeah,
Seriously.
it blew up right there. And I love it for almost everything of like what you mentioned with Chris Sarandon, Roddy McDowell. I grew up watching him in a few movies like The
Mhm.
Haunting, which I'm not gonna lie, as much as a horror lover as I am, as a child that put me to sleep.
It did.
It
Me
it, it
too.
was a very very slow paced one, but anytime Roddy McDowell was on scene, it was like it lit up. Like that
Yeah.
was like your Donald Pleasance or your Vincent
Mhm.
Price. He was kind of almost in that same vein. And funny enough, they tried to get Vincent Price onto the show. Thank you, Cobbler, for the follow.
Dang.
Yeah. Well, like, so I don't know if the original character's name was supposed to be Peter Vincent, as like, what the script is, because the script that I
Right.
read, it follows the film practically beat the beat. So I think it was a final shooting draft. Um, but yeah, like Peter Vincent, Peter as in, I was gonna say Peter Sellers. No, that's the incorrect one. Jesus Christ, I'm forgetting his damn name. Who did the Hammer films with Christopher Lee? Peter. Uh,
Oh, Christopher Lee, Peter, what are you talking about? Who?
the guy who would play Van Helsing in the Hammer Dracula films opposite. It's Peter something. Jesus Christ, Jessica Jones is gonna strangle me for forgetting it. It's Peter something. Um,
Peter. Okay, we're gonna have to look it up. Look it up.
yeah. Well, I mean, if I move it away from here, the whole
Oh,
scene
you
thing.
can't.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm locked on the screen.
Peter. Okay, so Peter.
Cushing. There you go. God,
Peter
that was
Cushing.
that was another
Why
stroke and a
didn't I
half.
think of that? Oh my
Folks,
God, I feel so bad.
folks, I'm not going to make it to season 2 this year. I'm so freaking sorry.
Oh,
I'm gonna have too many strokes tonight.
I'm
Like,
so sorry, Peter Cushing. I should have known.
yeah,
I should
so
have known.
Peter Vincent got his first name from Peter Cushing, and then of course Vincent from Vincent Price. And originally they tried to sit there and go to Vincent Price for it, but he was wanting to leave his horror roots behind because that was 85. So yeah, he
Yeah.
wasn't. I think he did Dead Heat. I think a few years before, or maybe a few years after this. But yeah, Dead Heat, that was like probably his last one. And then I guess if you considered Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands, that was, but that's more of a gothic aesthetic drama, akin to kind of how Vincent started his career at. But yeah, they tried to get Vincent Price. They couldn't get him. He wanted to leave that behind. And so they got Roddy McDowall as like the next great choice. And Roddy ended up making like a whole like backstory for this character of this TV host to play. I enjoy that. I think almost everyone essentially in this film pulled their own weight on this little independent, kind of not so independent, like, horror
Yeah.
feature. Um,
I also really liked who was the character. Um, I'm looking here. Is it Billy, the young kid who he actually dies in the movie, but he's like the young kid that is trying to tell everyone that that Jerry's a vampire. Do you remember him?
yeah, he died in
Isn't
real
he
life.
die? Yeah, he becomes a vampire at the end of the movie. At the movie in the
Oh, oh,
movie.
oh, okay. So that's the one that constantly mocks Brewster. He's all, "You're so cool, Brewster." Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. I
yes.
love that guy and everything. He had like some of the best special effects added to him. And for someone that was
Yeah.
so knowledgeable in vampires, it's like he didn't really take his knowledge all too well.
And I loved the part when Amy, Charlie's girlfriend, is turning into the vampire because she, her sex appeal goes up. Her hair
Yeah.
grows. She's in that white
I
dress.
never understood that with
Um,
certain vampire films. It's like if they have the short hair and then they get bit, it's like magically within hours they grow like lengths of hair, and I'm all like,
because
what?
women, we all want longer hair
Yeah,
because we just, I guess that we feel more feminine.
I guess to me it doesn't matter long hair or not. If I'm
Long hair or
in,
not,
if I'm in, I'm in. Like it's like
right?
there's some women that can pull off the bob and everything, and I was like,
Oh, like Charlize Theron, like can wear any haircut.
yeah. So yeah, like with like her whole change, and then of course they added the whole like whatever prosthetic fangs. I almost felt like they had to stretch
Yeah,
her cheeks out just
I
for that.
know.
Because it was such a wide grin, and like originally they weren't gonna show much of that because I guess of just how it looked. But people are like, we want more of it, so they went back and they put more of her in there, with the whole prosthetics. And
Love it.
I love her so much. And then I almost rolled over dying because essentially that actress would go on to play Al Bundy's like arch nemesis. She was Marcy and Married with Children.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either until this year whenever I was doing the um Stephen Jeffries, who played Evil Ed, ended up in porn. I feel sorry for the woman
Really?
that had to be either on top or under him
Stephen,
because,
who?
well, I'm thinking his vampire look where he has the cross on there. It's like, God, that's a face.
Really? Well, my favorite part of Fright Night is the
Yes.
dance scene
Oh.
in the bar or the dance club
Mm-hmm.
where Jerry Dandridge is like
He just walks
seducing
across
Amy,
the room and
and they've got the song playing, and it's just like this sexy '80s song, and they have this really intense dance scene, and that's my favorite part of the movie for
yeah.
sure.
Because like the entire time that her boyfriend's trying to find a way out, and she's like over here, like she's having a whole
She's
Bram Stoker's
grinding.
Dracula
Ye-
moment. And there's
Yes,
almost a bit of it that you kind of feel like, is this really part of the hypnotism, or is this just more of like, this is kind of what she's been looking for out of the relationship with Brewster? And
could
like
be.
it's immediately right there, because vampires always kind of in a sense give you what you want. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
when it comes to that, even though she was kind of against the sex at the beginning, but there was just something about,
Mhm.
yeah, Sarandon, which again, the Sarandon siblings don't get enough love.
No.
They don't. They're very talented auteurs at their works.
Yeah.
And this isn't Chris's first horror film neither, because he did The Sentinel first and everything.
Right.
And he was against doing this film because he was like, he didn't have fun doing that one, which some of the scenes that I saw, it's like, wow, he looks really sick, like physically
Mm.
ill, and I'm just like, he okay? And then when I looked up Fright Night, it's like, I don't want to do this. And then they showed him the script. They talked him through everything. They let him do his own thing with his character, like the apple. Do you know the story about the apple?
No.
So he identifies as a fruit bat
Really?
because vampires and something along the lines of like the bats and everything. You have those that the vampire bats that drink blood. Well, he identifies as a fruit bat. That's
Really?
so anytime you see him, which is interesting enough because in some vampire lore,
Isn't he
sometimes,
eating fruit? He's
yeah,
actually eating
he's
fruit in
always
some
eating
points.
fruit. He's
Yes.
always like eating an apple, and I think he ends up leaving his territory if I remember right, because it's been a few months since I've seen it, where he lets Brewster know he's been there. He just bites into the apple and just leaves it. And when Brewster finds it, it's like
Wow.
he's been here. And it's funny because Tom Holland wrote this story beforehand, and had a movie made of it that he didn't direct because this was his directorial debut. But there was a film that he did that was very similar, where it was a neighbor finds out that his neighbor is a serial killer and he's trying to prove it to everyone. I forgot the name of the movie and everything. But
That sounds
essentially,
familiar.
Tom took that same story he wrote and he did Fright Night because he wanted to do a vampire thing. And then, of course, the whole horror host, that's what tied it all in and everything. But yeah, there's so many moving elements. And I know we're like an ADHD kid bouncing around this film, but that goes to show you there's so much intricacy with
Yeah.
his with all these characters, his stories, their looks, how they've came to become. It's hard not to try to cover all of that and everything.
Yeah, it just has that great 80s appeal to it. That 80s charm. It honors the classic vampire. Um,
Myths and
it
culture.
just myths and culture, yeah, a little bit of the Bram Stoker, it keeps the stakes and the cross and the holy water and all of that into play when trying to defeat Jerry Dandridge. Um, yeah, it's just a feel good vampire movie that I think is one of the classics.
And I will say this, from the movies that you have picked out, I actually do think Jerry's probably the best villain of your pick.
Really?
I think he's the better villain. I think, well,
Huh.
for the next one we're going to talk about, I
The
wouldn't,
next one, the villain isn't very good.
the head one's not, but the one that we see
No,
most of the time, he's very
it is.
charismatic. And he
Yes.
carries that same weight as Jerry, but I think um, Jerry's a really good final kill, final boss, whatever you want to name it.
Mhm.
I had a question for you. The familiar that's with them. Did you sit
Yeah.
there and think that he was a vampire as well, or what did you think of him?
No, I just thought he was a familiar.
So when I read the script, this is probably the one thing that my brain, for some reason, it transcribed the words and everything differently. But I could have swore I thought that he was supposed to be a zombie.
Oh, really? I don't know. I always thought he was a familiar.
But like,
What does it say in the script?
well, it really doesn't give much. Like for some reason, also too, I think the script did not even say he had facial hair. So as I'm reading the script and the familiar is getting ready to attack Peter Vincent and Brewster, um, all I'm thinking of is Tim the Toolman Taylor's sidekick. I'm thinking of yeah, is it Al?
Yeah, Al.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Al, like someone that is
Al
like it's like a look.
Borland, right?
Yeah, like just like this full beard, and he's just walking up there, and I'm just thinking, yeah, Al Borland, and I'm just thinking of him. I was like, wow, they shot Al in the fucking head with a gun, and I was like, it's like, well, he's done, and then he just sits right back up, and then they're like, oh shit, and I was like, is this guy a zombie? But like, apparently, in the movie, he's just another vampire. He's just not nearly as strong, but he does carry some of the same
Oh.
qualities as Danger, because the only way that they could able to kill him in both script and the movie, because at that time it's been years since I've seen the movie, I always thought he was either a werewolf or a zombie and everything. But the only way to kill him, they stake him in the heart, and that finally put his
Right.
ass under. I was like, you put a bullet in him, and it was like that wasn't
Silver.
enough.
Silver. Yeah, silver bullets because I think they
Yeah,
use specifically.
because they shot him in the head. He gets back up, and then they shoot him multiple times to the point the gun's just empty at this, and I'm just like, um, zombie headshot. That teaches us everything. Like the Romero films came out about 20 years ago. It's like that bullet to the head should have did something. I was like, no, he was a vampire. He was just a lesser vampire in a sense. Um,
Yeah,
but
because I
yeah,
mean, if the silver bullets didn't work,
then he's not a wolf,
he's not a werewolf.
which will give them. It's I feel like some people that may have also grew up on 80s horror, they would figure that vampires could not turn into wolves unless you were Dracula. That's he set there seemed to be the only one to do that.
Right.
But this film takes that as yeah, he's a lesser werewolf, but both him and Stephen Jeffries' character, they turn into wolves.
Shapeshifters, yeah.
Yeah, so they're a shapeshifter familiar, but for some reason the only way you could kill them, because again for him, for the teenager, he died being staked too whenever he fell off the ledge and landed right onto the stake, and I was like,
Right.
it's a very odd way because it's not outright specified of what are you? Are you just a werewolf? Are you a vampire? Can this guy just use some magic and turn you into something? You know, but
I think it's just taking a bunch of the supernatural kind of tropes and kind of throwing it in there and mixing it up,
yeah,
making it interesting. I just thought of, you just made me flash to, have you seen Love at First Bite?
a long time ago with Jim Carrey, because
No,
that's
no,
not.
this is with um
I'm thinking Once Bitten. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Once Bitten, yes. Love at First Bite
Okay,
is Hamilton. MK, you would know. Choo Choo Bean, help us out. I know MK and Choo Choo Bean.
okie dokie. I like the trope where supernatural creatures are like silly mortal. We just want you to believe that our weakness. So our rumors,
George, thank you, Choo Choo
George.
Bean.
Okay, so
If you
George
if you
Hamilton.
haven't seen George Hamilton, if you haven't seen Love at First Bite, you have to.
All right, I'm gonna have to add that one then. I don't know why I confused that one with the Jim Carrey one, but what is Love at First Bite?
Love at First Bite is George Hamilton is a classic vampire who it's a fish out of water movie. So
Okay.
he gets transported to like modern day New York City, and it's
Hmm.
how Dracula has to survive in modern day, or 19 late 1970s New York City.
Huh. I,
It's like a whole it's a
I
comedy. It's a
yeah,
comedy. It's a
yeah.
comedy.
It's I'm gonna have to watch that one because like the way like you describe, I was like, so is it kind of like almost in the vein of Dracula Dead and Loving It? Is it that form of
Kind of.
comedy? Okay, because like yeah,
Less slapstick, but yeah, it's got some cast members from Saturday Night Live in it from back in the day.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah. No, yeah. Now you're speaking my language. If it's like a good SNL cast, yeah, fuck yeah, okay. I'm adding that one. Thank you
it's
so
cheesy,
much.
but it's cheesy, but it's good.
Okay, okay. Um,
Ready to go off track.
it's fine. So we're gonna go 3 years ahead. Fright Night was 85, so now we're going to 88. Um, it's Joe Schumacher's, I think, first film, if I remember correctly.
I
Uh,
don't know.
I think this was also too like in my youth, because again, I wasn't an 80s kid, I was a 90s kid, but I grew up watching a lot of 80s content on VHS from my childhood. So I guess spiritually I am an 80s kid. Um, thank you so much, Quest.
Thanks, Matt.
But it's the I think it is Joel Schumacher's debut and everything, but Lost Boys. Like
Lost
this was
Boys.
my introduction to the Coreys.
Uh-huh.
This my introduction to Kiefer Sutherland.
Uh-huh.
Uh it's my introduction, I think, to 80s horror period. I think this is my first one.
Oh.
Because also too, like I was introduced to this and Monster Squad. I was introduced to so much 80s films growing up, but I believe that I think this film and Monster Squad's what made me fall in love with the Universal classics, but also to just fall in love with vampires and monsters all in general. Why did you
Yes.
pick The Lost Boys?
Oh. The Lost Boys is special to me because it takes the vampires and it makes them punk. It makes them rebellious. It makes them chaotic. It makes them scary again in a way that we hadn't seen vampires before. So we've seen, vampire movies play out, but then this kind of turns it on its head. Like, what if they were a gang? What if they, you know, ruled this little town in California? Um, I love the vibe. I love the music. I love the characters. The cast is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of the things that I really think is cool about the movie is that more than halfway through the movie, you actually see them sleeping as half bats in the cave, which you
Yeah.
don't really normally see. Either you see a vampire sleeping in a coffin,
Yeah.
something like that. You actually see them like roosting as bats, and I always thought that scene always really stuck out to me. Like they're doing things a little bit differently. They're trying to modernize. I think this was the attempt to modernize the vampire.
Yeah, because about a year after this, then you would have um Near Dark, which is another
Which is
wonderful
also
vampire film.
amazing.
And even though it's modern, it's considered a Western horror
Mhm.
vampire film and everything. And that all of itself had wonderful casts of Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton.
Yes.
Is it Lee Pace? I don't think it's Lee Pace.
No, who's the no,
I
who's the
forgot who the
girl?
lead was in there, but
Let me see.
yeah, that was another outstanding. The 80s, right when we got towards.
Jeanette Goldstein again from
Oh
Aliens.
yeah, that's right, because she played Lance's woman, I
Yeah,
guess.
Diamondback.
Yeah, it's such a
Yeah,
comic book name, Diamondback.
I know. Yeah, a lot of good people in that movie.
But back to Lost Boys, when you mentioned the bat thing about them being upside down and everything, it's like, well, like they were also playing around with the with one of the main characters when they're just hanging around there, and then you cut to
Yep.
later, and they're doing it with their feet, and it's like, oh,
Yep.
nice, and it's a wonderful contrast, and um, I'm trying to figure out where to, because again, this is another one that can just be
Excuse me.
taken all over the place, but every
They still use this. They get killed by stakes. They can still get
yes.
killed by holy water. I don't remember if any crosses were used in the movie particularly, but I know
I
that
think
holy
they
water,
did.
garlic.
I think they did, but I don't think the crosses actually did anything. But also, too, they didn't really necessarily said that faith had to been used, which
Right.
has always been a thing too. Of like people that sit to say, "Oh, the crucifix doesn't work." I was like, "Well, you have to have faith in
Have
order for the
faith.
object." Because even Stephen King brings this up because one character in Salem's Lot tried to use it, and it didn't work. And it's like you have to have faith in everything. You have to believe that
Yeah.
in God and all that, for your faith and everything for that cross to work. And then the cross would light and the vampire would go, and you're like, holy shit,
Right.
it's like a superpower. Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
this wasn't none of it. It kind of stripped that away a little bit, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it could still exist. It was just, these are children that really aren't going to church. They're just running amok. Which that's what
Right.
this whole movie is. It's you don't see a
Right. And
single parent whatsoever.
no. Well, you see the mom. You see the mom, and then also see the man that the mom is dating.
Yeah. But they're not parenting, I guess, like in a way of what you would think. Like, I think the
No.
mom is more of she's constantly busy, she's
Oh, and the
constantly at
grandpa.
work. Yeah, grandpa was doing something. I can never remember what grandpa
Grandpa
was
was just
doing.
making taxidermy animals,
Yeah,
and
because the boys would complain. It's all like, where's the TV to watch MTV? And like, it's like, I don't
yeah.
have a TV, but here you can read this. And he gives them a TV guide. I was like, oh, good fucking use that was. And
Well, what's
uh,
interesting is the grandpa, it could almost be likened to the Roddy McDowall character as the vampire hunter because he knew that they were vampires all along.
yeah, the twist at the end where,
Yeah.
of all the goddamn places in the world or something, I forgot what it was. I bastardized it. It was something about Santa Carla. It's like all the goddamn
Santa Carla,
vampires.
yeah. All the
Yeah.
goddamn
I think
vampires.
it was like of all like the worst things, in this town, it's like it's all these goddamn
They're all
vampires,
the goddamn vampires,
which
yes.
makes you kind of wonder, what did Grandpa like? Is Grandpa native here, or did Grandpa just move here to hunt them? Like, were they just a big nest?
I don't
And
know.
you know, it's like
I don't
it
know.
explains why he didn't have a lot of things, because people are like, why don't you have TV? Why don't you have this? And I was like, he's sleeping and he's out killing these things. I don't think he has time to catch up on anything. So it's a
And can we talk
necessity.
about how beautiful Jamie Gertz is in this movie as Star?
I was about to ask, is that Star? Yes. I think that
Yes.
was definitely one of a childhood crush for
Oh
her.
my gosh. So beautiful.
I can't think of anything I've seen her in after this. Like to me,
Twister.
this which one?
Twister.
Who does she play in
The
Twister?
original Bill Paxton's wife.
Oh, was that wife number two?
Yeah, the one that
Okay.
goes in, the one with she has short hair. She looks totally different.
That yeah, because I remember Star had the long and kind of
Oh, real long, beautiful curly
real
hair.
long. Yeah, it had like a lot of body, but it was very frizzy because of the water, the
Yeah.
humidity. And then you look at her in Twister, and it looks permed up. I guess I don't.
Yeah,
It,
no,
it looks
not
very
not
done
her
up.
best look. It's not her best look. Twister's
Yeah.
not her best look.
Um. But what is it? I did not know that that was her. Now I
Yeah.
gotta go back and I really gotta watch these movies and like just look it up and just do the side by side comparison. I did not know that was her because there's like a
Yeah,
lot of 80s stars that it's like this was like their definitive film. They obviously
uh-huh.
did more, but it's like where the fuck is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a real hard time picking these three movies because I was also on the fence with like Twister and Titanic and all kinds of other stuff. And then I was like Legend, and then picking these movies for you was really difficult.
So you chose the vampires over two disaster films and a dark fantasy.
Yes, there I have so many, like it's
You,
so varied.
here's the thing too that I would also say I've never seen Legend. I know of it.
Really?
I know of it, and I know some of the funniest stories about Legend. With Tim Curry, having to wear all
Yeah.
that stuff, but like never seen it. It's the same thing. Like I've never seen Willow. I feel like those are two big '80s fantasies. Never seen them.
Shut up.
Never seen them.
Willow? Oh my God, you have to watch it for
But funny enough, I've seen Masters of the Universe, which to me it feels like that carries something from both of those films. The
Joanne Wally. Joanne Wally is so hot in Willow. So hot.
is that the okay with Willow? That's the one with Val Kilmer, correct?
Yes, and
Yeah,
Joanne
okay.
Wally, who is the most important thing in the movie because
She
she's this beautiful redhead.
I'm definitely gonna have to go watch it. Wow, Willow's amazing. I know, guys. It's like I grew up in the '80s, but not. I haven't consumed everything '80s yet, and everything. It's like I'm pretty sure my sister has probably seen those films. I don't know about Legend, but I think she has seen
Yeah,
Willow.
Wendy. Wendy, do you like Willow? Is she around?
Yeah, yeah. She's
Yes.
modding and everything. Oh, you never saw
Never
Willow?
saw
Oh,
Willow.
okay. Well, then
Oh,
I guess that's a movie night. Then I gotta make.
movie night. Oh, it's so good.
Uh, watch it. Will do and everything. It's another thing I have to add to the watch list. I'll watch it after I finish the Drew Carey show.
The
Oh,
Drew Carey
Kitty
show.
and
Yeah,
everything.
Kitty
So
Vet.
so Star, like what was it about Star that you loved just so much about that character?
Her free spirit. Her wanting to keep people safe. I don't know. She's just beautiful. She just has sex appeal. Just the way she dances, the way she moves. Not sure why I never watched Willow. I love me some Val Kilmer. Oh, you need to watch it. And Val Kilmer looks so good in that movie too.
And to be honest, my very first introduction to Val Kilmer was Batman Forever.
Oh,
I actually thought he did a pretty damn good job, but
he's not a bad Batman.
he's a total dickhead. At least back then he
Yeah.
was. When I saw the documentary for the out of Dr. Moreau, I was like, man, I was like, now I understand why they cast him later as Baron von Kunt and everything. It's like it kind of fits a little bit of his own personality. Um,
It's all in the mouth with Batman. You have to have a nice mouth,
yeah.
distinct mouth.
You do know that Jason Patrick is he comes from some form of Hollywood royalty, right?
Julia Roberts?
Jason Patrick.
Jason Patrick, yes. No, yeah, but who? He was with somebody.
Was he actually with Julia Roberts? My lead in was going to be that he is the son of the priest that dies in The Exorcist.
Oh, I did not know that. Let me.
Yeah. So Father, not Father Dyer.
Oh my God, he looks. Yeah, Jason Patrick, Julia Roberts.
This one's going to be a down like we're falling
Yes,
down the rabbit hole here of so many other films, folks.
I
So
know. So sorry, but yes, Jason Patrick dated Julia Roberts.
I did not know that and everything, but Yeah, Jason Patrick. I didn't learn this until I was much older that he was a he was the son of Dyer, and it's like, why did none of these men get so much work? Because they've done so
Yeah.
many. I know that the actor, Jason's father and everything, he did like a lot of stuff with oh my god, what's it called? The Ninth Configuration. He did that. Blatty, William Peter Blatty, who wrote The Exorcist. So all
Okay.
these like really weird psychological, sometimes a comedic twist. Because Batty could write comedy like no fucking tomorrow. I really wished he did more. I found out that technically he wrote some of the Pink Panther movies.
Really?
Before he did The Exorcist, he wrote the Pink Panther. So when you can see a good witty dialogue, it's like, remember, it's the Pink Panthers writer and everything that's doing it. I love that so much. But yeah, Jason Patrick is father is the son of Father Dyer and everything, and I'm just all
Really?
like, what the hell, horror royalty? Because I guess you could say horror royalty in the sense Hollywood royalty. Um, oh my god, also related to the husband from the Honeymooners.
Really?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they are. I like the soundbite from Tommy Lee Jones to Jim Carrey. I cannot sanction your buffoonery on the Batman movie.
On the Batman movie?
I'm sorry, Tommy Lee Jones should not do comedy as Two Face. He should not, he should not. This is not the episode for that, but to tear down that role. Mm. What did you think about Kiefer Sutherland?
Well, it was my first
So,
exposure to Kiefer Sutherland as
okay,
well when I saw the movie. Thought he was amazing. I
yeah.
thought all the vampires were amazing. I thought that their style was really cool. I thought that Kiefer did a good job of being threatening. I think he took his role seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think he's iconic.
Iconic. It would take me years to find out, probably in my teens, that Donald Sutherland, who I grew up
Yeah.
uh, watching his works through so many science fiction stuff. Didn't see him in MASH. Now I have to see him in MASH because I read the script. I hate his character. I think they're assholes, and I was like, only fucking Donald Sutherland can make this character a lovable person. But I grew up sitting there and seeing him play the tanker, and I think it's the Dirty Dozen. And now that becomes a monocle anytime that I feel like depressed, sad, any type of self-destructive emotion towards myself. It's all like, there you go again, negative waves, negative waves. It's like, give yourself a little faith and everything. And I'm all like, I gotta think about that and everything. But I love
Yeah.
Christopher. I love Christopher's work. I don't think this is his best work, but I do think that,
Oh
um,
yeah.
uh, what was that? Choo Choo Beans? Isn't one vampire the guy from Bill and Ted,
Bill
or
and
am I wrong?
Ted.
Yes,
I
Alex
think so.
Winter.
Yeah.
Alex Winter
Alex
is a.
Winter.
It, ever since Bill and Ted, I feel like even this film, Alex Winter did not get the love that he needed. He had a cool death because he was the bathtub death, if I remember correctly, with the garlic
Yeah,
and the
I
holy
think so.
water.
Yeah.
Um, but I actually want to kind of hold on that because like the death of the gang is like one of the most iconic scenes in the whole film.
Oh
But
yeah.
but one thing that I really want to point out is that this film does not portray itself as a horror film at first.
No.
It's like
No.
it's like John Hughes's The Breakfast Club. That's what it is. It's a very gothic Breakfast Club. Um, but there is some horror underlined in there because almost anytime that you see teens and kids have fun at like the beaches or the coastal areas or whatever, because Santa Barbara, I'm guessing, is a coastal town and everything. That's what I was gathering because I do
Oh
believe it
yeah, yeah.
it was
Because it has the
coastal.
whole boardwalk. It has the whole
Yeah.
boardwalk.
So
That yeah.
there's so much of like this fun during the summer of the boardwalk before I guess school starts because I'm guessing they just got there during summer and summer's
Right.
booming, but there are all these missing person posters up,
Right.
and they're always either children, somewhere between like a preteen to like a teenager. There were like a few younger and everything. And as these kids are all having fun, you can also just see these parents just completely heartbroken as they're posting. And it's not just posting it, it's posting it over other missing children that obviously will never be found.
Never be
Be-
found.
and I kind of think that that's interesting of we go from like these two brothers that one they are trying to struggle living in a new area, One is on this transformation of, like, you know, his hormones. He's learning to kind of be a little bit more like an adult. Jason Patrick, you know, gotta love the dude.
Right.
And then you got his little brother Corey Haim, which one of my favorite Corys. He did not get enough love as his other compatriot. Really,
Yeah.
they both don't get enough love. But to me, these were like the two guys, the two famous children of the 80s. I can't think of anyone else outside of that. Danielle Harris is probably the most famous, probably female child next to Drew Barrymore of the 80s
Right.
as well. And I mean, because she
Right.
did the Halloween films and Drew Barrymore did fucking everything. Um, but yeah, Corey Haim is the younger brother. He feels more left out. Big brother doesn't really want to hang out with him anymore. So us younger siblings obviously know that feeling of, like, I don't know about Stevie because it seems like she's very tight knit with his sister. Like, I did everything with my sister.
I am.
So
Yes, we did. We
yeah.
do.
So like seeing him meet the Frog Brothers, which again are children that are not like essentially being watched by their parents because their parents are hippies and they're constantly stoned out of the comic book shop. There's just like all of this, like, you know, coming into a brand new world, having to find your new friends, um, and it's both wonderful and terrifying. And then as like they get to know them a little bit more, and we get to see these dualities of the brothers, and just how it's kind of starting to push forward. Then you have like the really weird old guy that's hitting on mom that
Right.
I think he
At the
owns a
video
few
store.
arcades. I think he's an arcade owner. He,
Yeah, it was like that or like a video rental store.
yeah, he owned a few of them, like on the
Yeah.
boardwalk and everything. You got him hitting on your mom, and then the older brother's busy dealing with, you know, being turned into a vampire, and younger one's like, I don't like this guy. You're not my dad, you know. And you have that, and then it crescendos into finally a horror film towards the final act where it's
Right.
just all the vampires are converging, and it's like to me it's some of the best kills ever. Death by stereo, which is an excellent
Yeah.
line.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what else it was. I don't know if it was Alex Winter.
Bathtub. There was
Yeah,
like a crossbow.
wasn't the crossbow one though that started that they killed Alex Winter, and then that's what led the chase on because they went to their hideout. So they either had to
Right.
kill Alex there because that's what got them all to chase him.
They killed one in the hideout when he was sleeping as a bat,
Yeah.
I believe with a stake through the heart.
Yeah, because I think the crossbow was just kind of what stunted him, and then they finished the
Yeah.
job out, and then they
Yeah.
start running, and Jason Patrick's like run and everything, because now it's like I'm a vampire, I have all these powers, and um
I'm just glad the dog was okay throughout the movie.
yeah, the 80s definitely still protected their animals. There's a few films that they
Yeah.
didn't, but 80s overall, you
Yeah.
never killed the fucking dog because you did it, you
No.
never win the audience over
No, never.
regardless. Yeah. So we get to where they're at. There's holy water thrown around, death by stereo. Um Kiefer Sutherland gets, again, it kind of doesn't follow vampire lore, but he gets pierced by like antlers, and that's what
Right.
kills him. I was like, that's, I guess it's not really wood, it's bone. Okay, let's roll with it. It's a cool kill. It's a cool fucking kill.
Right. Right.
Because like watching Jason Patrick and him fight, and it's all like, dude, this is what you wanted. It's like, and now you don't want it no more. He's fight, and also too, he's not just fighting for himself. He's fighting for his family. He's fighting for Star, and he's fighting for that one child that Star is looking after.
Right.
Um, which I don't think they get cured compared to
No.
Near Dark, where the end it's like, oh well, the people are no longer vampires because they had a blood transfer, they're safe, they're okay.
Yeah.
And in this
I
one it's
don't
like, no, like they had to go off and do
well
their own thing.
the head vampire though does get killed. So I think
That's
maybe
right.
they might be okay.
Did it save Star?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
Yeah, that's because again I tried to, and then Philo was the only place that was holding this, and my buddy's voodoo account was giving him some schlack and everything. But yeah, no, you had like the this is where it gets anticlimactic. I think it's the weakest part of the whole movie is the whole big reveal of, oh, I'm the head vampire, and it gets
Yeah.
it gets parodied by The Simpsons like not too long afterwards, where they kill Mr. Burns as Dracula, And then like they're like, well, wait, Mr. Burns is dead. I thought we killed the head vampire. And then they're like, no, I'm the head vampire. And it's like, oh
Yes,
god, they reference Lost Boys, and I think that's the weakest part. And
I do too.
it probably should have been something else. They could have easily had it where he was human, but somehow figured out a way to corral these boys of these are my boys. And the only reason he's dating mom is his plan is to have the boys turn her children so he could turn her. It makes sense on paper, but I guess in the execution of it, it's probably the only weakest moment of the film,
I
period,
agree.
and everything.
I
But
agree.
it still ends very very well because the boys are they're still trying to kill him. Jason Patrick's getting his ass whipped, and yeah, see, it's so anticlimactic. I don't even remember how they killed him. I don't recall if it was sunlight or a stake or both.
I'm trying.
Because I think the sun came and then Jason had to go quickly run and retreat, and both him and Star did because it took a while for their vampirism then to shake off after
I
they
think
killed
you're
it.
right. I think you're right.
And
Yeah, I can't even remember how the head vampire was. If anybody in chat can remember, please remind us because
but there's so much fun that's packed into this movie, but the kind of sad thing is that the ending kind of fogs people's brains because it's like, well, then how did this end? We know he died, we don't know how he died and everything. And
oh wait, Max. Okay, Grandpa crashes his truck through the wall of the house, impaling the head vampire on a wooden fence post, causing him to explode.
how did I not remember that? That seems like an epic fucking kill. Fucking
Yeah,
grandpa came in clutch and
yeah,
everything. Because at the end, where it's like the sun and everything's all smoking because you have guy in the bathtub, which I don't want to scrub that fucking damn thing because I gotta give it the prosthetics of that. So
oh
first
yeah,
throwing it on him and how well it worked. And then
yeah,
when they shove him in there and then part of his face is melting and
oh
then
yeah,
and it's not even the end of it, like the tension's still going there because you think, oh my god, it's over, and then bam, it's like the bone and
yeah.
everything pops out, and Gremlins would
They
copy that.
they trashed the hell out of Grandpa's house.
They did. And
In the
every
movie. I mean, they trashed the hell out of it.
but also too, they didn't drive a fucking car through it. Grandpa did that on himself, so
Grandpa
grandpa's
did
gonna
it.
have to fix
Grandpa.
that wall and that fence
Exactly right.
and everything.
Exactly.
So yeah, probably the pierce and then being burned by the sun, that's what got rid of the head vampire. And yeah, like it ends right there. And I think a lot of 80s films at that point, they just did that ending because I know Monster
Mhm.
Squad ended it because it's like, how do you end this movie? All the monsters are dead and everyone rallies, yay. And it's like, we're the Monster
Yep.
Squad. And then you have 80s
Yep.
music playing. And the military is so confused, like, what the fuck does that mean?
Mhm.
And everything. And yeah,
Yep.
it just ends.
The one thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach, all the damn vampires.
We love that. We love that. I think that's a good way to kind of wrap up Lost Boys is with that
Okay.
perfect, after I butchered the fuck out of it, that
No,
perfect
well, I'm reading it off of
final
Wiki.
final line of the movie. And then Grandpa is like shuffling through, like, my fucking house is all ruined. Who knows how many taxidermy things have already been ruined too. Um, and we kind of we conclude our 80s vampires. We conclude the hair metal look, the punk look, um,
Yes.
the 80s music and everything, and we jump down to something that it's very gothic, as the name implies,
Yes.
very southern gothic to a certain
Yes.
extent. I'm trying to figure out a way how to also describe it, but it is Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, the actual first adaptation from 1994, uh with Brad Pitt as, how do you say that full name? I know it's Louis.
Brad Pitt is Louis de Pont du Lac.
There you go, cuz I got to learn fucking French. French is popping up so much in my life today and this whole week. So Dupont du Lac.
De Pont du Lac.
Okay. And then you have Tom Cruise as the vampire Lestat.
Lestat de Liancourt.
See, she's read the books and seen the movie so many times. She knows it. This is like the back of her hand. So I expect accuracy on
Oh,
this one.
don't expect no. No, I mean there are some things that I because I've recently watched the new TV series, The Interview
Yeah.
with the Vampire, seasons 1 and 2, which if you guys haven't seen it, please watch it. Um, you say it faster than I type it, Stevie. It's great. But yeah, Interview with the Vampire is actually the first vampire movie I ever saw. So I was at Hollywood Video with my sister and my mom, and we were looking at movies, and she's like, have you do you guys know what vampires are? Have you ever watched anything with vampires?" And we were like, "No." And she's like, "Well, I love this movie. Let's rent it and watch it." So yeah, and we were probably maybe too young to watch
I was
it.
about to say your very first vampire movie, and your mom picked the most sexually charged
Yes, yes, but
film.
I love her for it. I love her for it because it introduced us to vampires, and it solidified my favorite type of vampire, which is the aristocratic vampire.
Mm-hmm.
The vampire that is elegant, beautiful,
Brooding.
tragic, brooding, lonely, and loving. Oh, I love Bordello of Blood,
I was
actually.
about to say thank you also too for describing.
Angie Everhart is a big girl crush of mine. So yes, Bordello of Blood is amazing. I love Bordello of Blood. But anyway, back to Interview. Um, it just the music, the vibe,
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans. It just takes you in and it kind of spins you up.
It's an
Um,
experience.
it's an experience, and it definitely kind of turned the vampire genre on its head because it doesn't really use those classic tropes anymore. I think the only way that they can be killed is with uh, sunlight and decapitation.
Yeah. Which is like in a sense like the classic one because in most Slavic tales they have it where they not only stake you but they cut your head off, they stick a wreath of garlic in your mouth. Sometimes they bury you with it with your head turned around backwards, but other times they've had it where um if you were bitten by it, they cut your heart out. They would put it in a fire, burn it, and then they would mash it down, make you drink it, and that was supposed to cure you of your vampirism. There were
Right.
thoughts that the head, I think, would be burned and then scattered to the four winds of a crossroad so that it could never reform ever again. Um, and this kind of goes back a little bit to those classic tropes and removes a lot of what Murnau's
Oh,
Nosferatu and a little bit of Stoker's Dracula. They kind of stripped a lot of that stuff away, and it's like this is what the vampire is in Anne Rice's world.
this is how the vampires are living
Yeah.
now. Anne Rice is telling us this is how the vampires have evolved. And this is how the vampires are living because, I mean, Interview with the Vampire starts out in like 1790 and then it goes into 1994. And so it
Okay.
it it tells you, the progress of Lestat and Louis as they go through the ages. And so I think she's kind of making her statement about how, this is how the modern vampire is living.
And it's wonderfully done. Usually I don't care for narrations all the time, but I think it's done well, especially adapting from a book and doing it. It's not one of the few times where it's like, oh god, it's another narration. I was like, no, you are synclined in with both the narration and the
Mhm.
cinematography of this. It is one of the most beautiful shot vampire films, period. Um, and
It's a beautiful movie.
yeah, and it's not just like a wonderful story of essentially Louis coming out of grief because I believe in the book it was his brother that died, but I think in the movie it was a wife and child or something that he lost. So he was in grief, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
everything. And so he didn't really want to kind of live anymore. And Lestat's like, well, I can help you out because no one else wanted to do it. And then Lestat's
Right.
like, gotcha. And then makes him drink his own blood. And in a sense, he kind of Lestat tried to do a good thing by trying to give a guy a second chance at living through eternal life. But again, there comes those brooding tropes of Louis doesn't want to do this. Louis doesn't want to live like this. Louis
Right.
just wanted to die and now is forced to live in eternal torment with Lestat, which like
Mhm.
it's not like it's hell, But the character Lestat, very narcissistic, very all to himself, very gaslighting. The man gaslights.
Oh, abusive for
Yeah,
sure.
very abusive. Nothing's more abusive than when I believe Louis bit Kirsten Dunst's character to kill her so she didn't suffer. And then again, Lestat's over here. It's like, surprise, we got a child. You know,
Yep.
tries to
Now you
fix.
have to stay with me.
Yeah, it's not just this like undertone like gay relationship that these men have,
Right.
but now he's introduced a child into the fray, and it's like
You
everything's gonna be
have to
okay. And
stay.
I'm all like, oh dear lord. And then you feel bad, for even the child, which, like, I like my Brad Pitt and I like my Tom Cruise for a certain bit, but no one shines brighter than fucking Kirsten Dunst in this movie.
She had a nomination, I think, for
What
Golden Globe, I
was she
think.
nominated?
Yeah, Best Supporting Actress.
Louis is more human than human characters in her series, like a White Zombie song. Yeah, that is a White Zombie song. It's more human than human.
Right.
That is the one thing that I always kind of wonder. So you mentioned, so with like Fright Night, there is like this fun vampire tale where the vampire is just feeding just the feed because they need to survive. Lost Boys, it's all this youthful rebellion. Fuck getting old. We're gonna stay young forever. You know,
Exactly.
but
Nicely
then
put.
when you come to Interview with the Vampire, it's and of course this being your first one, it's like a different type of mood all entirely of this.
Mm.
It seems like a lot of the fun is stripped away. I'm pretty sure there were like some fun moments that Louis did have in his Eternal thing, but most of the movie kind of highlights a lot of the struggles of it.
It's
But
mournful. Mournful
very
vampires.
mournful, but not like sappy Twilight, like Matt mentioned earlier
No,
with the sparkling, where
not like
it's
no.
like I'm vegan, and it's all like okay, like I don't care. But um, they're these are creatures of the night that really need emotion. They connect through emotion.
Mhm.
Even though there's a lot of sexual tension, there is no sex in this,
No,
whatsoever.
no.
Um,
Which, if you're missing it, you need to watch the TV show. Just saying again.
I know. Like, I need to get on to season one so then we can have Stevie back on here and just talk Interview with the
Yeah,
Vampire.
I want to do like a whole thing of just talking with Gothic about season 1 and 2 of Interview with the Vampire TV show. It's just
As Jasper mentioned, Anne Rice actually started the entire trend of vampires regretting their immortality and distance from light.
distance from life. They're
And
very lonely.
yeah, it emphasizes that, and it's kind of funny that you don't really get that all too much. Like, you got a little bit of that with the Coppola Dracula, because he was alone,
Right.
and his whole thing was, I was going to come here and I was going to spread my darkness and make more. Oh, but there's this beautiful woman that looks just like the woman of my dreams that took her own life, and I want to be with her. And there is that romance to this. So I think stripping away a lot of like the wars, stripping that away,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I think Anne Rice's vampires kind of took a little bit more of the romantics, the romanticism of it, and placed it in a Southern Gothic setting, which even makes it more Gothic and in
Mhm.
everything of like. Hopefully, I'm getting through here with someone here, like that you know
No,
what I
you
mean.
totally are.
But yeah,
Yes.
the movies were disconnected enough to confuse me when I was young. I wondered if we ever get to a point of Rockstar Lestat. Well, we
It's
are, because
coming.
the
It's
new
coming.
one, I've seen the advertisements of it. I've never seen the show previously, but just watching, what is a 5 minute promo? Because I know he was
Yes.
doing an interview. It was a pretty long promo, but
Oh
even
yeah.
then, it's like I've never seen this show. I don't know this actor that's playing him, but he had sold me on
Yes.
the
He's
vampire
fantastic.
Lestat.
Now, see, the one thing that I will say is that I never was really into Tom Cruise as Lestat, and neither was uh, Anne Rice. Anne Rice actually wanted Blade Runner.
Harrison Ford.
No, the
I was like, I
oh
can't
my
see Harrison Ford
God,
as.
no, it
Or which Blade Runner are you talking about?
Rutger Hauer. She wanted Rutger Hauer
Okay,
as
okay.
Lestat in the movie, and unfortunately, I guess that's who she always pictured Lestat to be. and I think he maybe was too old in 1994 to do it.
I was about to say, yeah,
But
because
huh?
he had been in his 40s.
But that's why I like in the TV show the Sam Reed. He does a much better Lestat. So my one gripe with Interview with Vampire is maybe the casting.
Hmm.
Tom Cruise is serviceable. Brad Pitt does an okay job. I mean,
He's more
he does better.
wooden. He's more wooden.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Kirsten Dunst takes home the cake on this one. Um, I wish they would have explained a little bit more of like her relationship with the woman that she turns into a vampire because there's definitely a lot more. They just didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
But I think as excuse me, as an introduction to Anne Rice's universe, like if you don't understand anything or don't never read anything, I think it's a beautiful movie to watch. And I think it's aged really well. And the soundtrack is amazing. I mean, it's something I watch usually every year.
Gotcha. Uh, Christian
And Christian
Slater.
Slater,
Oh,
yes.
but also too, you forget the piece de la resistance. Armand, played by Antonio Banderas.
Antonio
I don't know why
Banderas.
I went Italian when he's Spanish. Totally
It
different
sounded good to me. It sounded good to me.
and everything. But yeah, like even though it's so small, he's like what, like 10 minutes of the film.
But he does great. He does great.
Yeah, he does great and everything. I don't know really the character, but Banderas played Antonio Banderas, and I've recently seen some of his younger stuff, and it's like, wow, this dude is a big womanizer, but not to like, I guess like a toxic way. It's just he has that way with like
Um,
how to get you. He has that charisma, that charm, and he's just like, I could be a vampire or a serial killer, you would still love me and
right,
everything, and um yeah, like to go through the story. So Louis was a plantation owner
right.
and everything. He goes through the, the loss of a family, and in a sense, he kind of, when he runs into Lestat, he ends up subconsciously building a new family. And the majority of
Right,
this film is trying to see this family work as a cohesive unit. Two fathers,
right.
one child. Uh, Obviously made at the spur of the moment without no thought, which Lestat, it seems. That seems to be Lestat's thing. He doesn't think things through
No,
whatsoever because, again, the people that he brought into this world are the ones that try to take him out. And I I don't know what was far worse of a kill, like having it where um Kirsten Dunst poisons his blood and then slices his
yes,
throat, or
yes,
having him being baked alive on fire and in
yes.
the it, and from what I've read in the book, he dies multiple times. They kill him numerous times, and I was
They
like,
bring him to the point of death, but they
yeah,
never, Louis never goes through with it.
yeah. But in the one thing that I don't sit there seem to understand is that he's always coming back.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, since you have far more knowledge of this, does Lestat love that type of pain? Or does he truly do believe he can sway Louis to be on his side, to live as he
He
lives?
truly does love Louis.
But he has a very shitty way
Oh,
of,
yeah. But I don't think that the movie had enough time to truly explain it in a way that was deserved.
yeah. Because in the book, I learned online and everything through one of the one of the video analysis things, is they said to say he does come from a very abusive childhood, Lestat, which is
Right.
why Lestat's the way he is and everything. But like,
Right.
I think in the movie they try to pass it off that, oh well, my father died and I killed him and everything, whereas in the book his father's well alive and everything, but Lestat, I don't think, made, he didn't sit there and follow through kind of the same way of Louis did, of he couldn't kill his own father and everything.
Right.
So like he just made,
Jasper, you're right. I think he loves the idea of Louis.
yeah.
Yes.
And I think also too that kind of spouted like a lot of, when this movie came out, and a lot of fans of it, of like the idea of like love, this romanticism of love. It's more the, I don't love you, I love the idea of you.
Right.
I feel like that really kind of shot out there of, oh my god, I love Lestat. I was like, do you really love Lestat? Do you? You know,
Yeah. It's very interesting. It's very interesting, and there's just not enough time in the movie version to actually like see all of that come into play and for it to actually make sense.
Yeah.
As someone who watched it, originally, I guess I didn't need to know that, but then as someone who late, after watching the movie got into Anne Rice and started reading the books, then I was like, "Oh, okay, I can see the ways that the movie could have done this better." But as far as like production value and the way the movie looks and the soundtrack, I mean, there really is nothing like it that I've watched for as far as vampires go and movies. I think that it's very I think Anne Rice's vampires are very distinct.
And they're
And
very
I like
human.
that.
For something
Yeah.
that is undead, they're very, very human. And I don't think there's really been anyone that could um I don't think there's really anyone that could write vampires like that. I don't know.
Right.
We'll maybe see what Robert Eggers is Nosferatu. We may sit there and see what that, because
That sounds
I can't
Christmas,
wait for
right?
that.
I can't wait for that either, Liz. I'm so excited.
That's gonna be a great one. It has a great cast and everything. And
Yes.
um what was it? I like that Robert Eggers casts like people with like a legit talent, because like Lily Rose Depp just did the whole exorcism scene as like
Mhm.
her way into that role, and he's like, you got it. From the
Yep.
dictionary of obscure sorrows, the modern word sonder, the realization that everyone else has a life as deep and faceted as your own. Ooh, I like that.
Lestat
We're
had a propensity for being attracted to the idea of things and mistaking it for truth. Yes, and the thing that's interesting, Jasper, is that in the TV show they really go into both sides. Like you see the story from Louis' perspective, and then at some point you see it from Lestat's perspective, and it kind of sends you on a little bit of a mind fuck. Um, it's very interesting if you haven't watched the show, but yeah, Dictionary of Obscure. I don't know what the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows is.
Well, no, the word sonder. That's where
Oh, Thunder.
that's where he got the definition and
Oh.
everything. But yeah, like I don't know, because like when I was watching the analysis, and I was getting back some fragments of the movies that I do remember watching, because again, I haven't probably watched this maybe since film school. And I think it was one of those nights where we did play this. Um, I think this is probably one of the very few films where I think most modern day audiences could identify with
Mhm.
it, and to throw it all the way back to like the time in which the story is, where there is like, I don't really think that was the age of romanticism that was into the 1800s, and you said it started 1790. So
Yeah.
romanticism wouldn't
Yeah.
happen again for another decade or
Uh-huh.
so. I'm not an art major by any chance. I love art, but I'm not that well fostering. But I do know the romanticism period, I think, happened in the 1800s, and I feel like Anne Rice and the filmmaker of this, who is also an author, I think they encapsulated both in book form and in world form perfectly. Even though the movie didn't encapsulate the film very well, and there was so much either having to be changed or to just be cut out and everything.
Right.
Um, I think this film is like a nice little time capsule of not just the 90s, but just of the idea of what that period is.
I agree. I
Because
think that's
again,
really well said.
as Lestat, in love with the ideas, but not so much the truth. I think we could sit there and also say the same thing about period piece films that we love. Of we're in love with the idea, but if we actually see the harsh truth of what it is, we don't really like it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, but it definitely has had an effect on me my whole life. I mean, my favorite type of vampire is the Anne Rice vampire. If I had to boil it down, it would be that.
And I can tell from some of the stuff that like we've worked on writing wise, that I can feel the influence when we were working on the fan fiction together. I was
Yeah.
like, I can feel a little bit of Anne Rice vampire, but in Final Fantasy setting,
Shh, don't say too much.
I'm sorry and everything. The average woman's life was not a Jane Austen novel. Exactly. The 90s had a lot of that. You're
A
right.
lot
It
of
does.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome in, HH. How you doing, homie?
Oh my gosh. Wait, he's here? Hey,
Yeah,
horror.
HH is here. The
Welcome
the man that
in.
brought us together and everything.
Yes, welcome
I
in.
hope the move has been easy. Vampire Lestat was very first vampire novel ever, and I've always
I
remembered that
always remember
concept.
that. It sticks with you, right, Jasper? It definitely does. I don't know. I will always appreciate what Anne Rice did for the vampire world.
Yeah. And I think we need to also sit there and kind of wrap it up because we almost went a whole hour and a half and everything. So we got a whole extra 30 minutes of Stevie. Here, what a way to like really wrap it up. There is a lot to like think about when it comes to these vampire films. Two of the which that Stevie has picked are very, very fun, where the other one, outside of just romanticism, I think you can call it philosophical.
Yeah.
There is a lot of time that, for one, vampires should be very philosophical. They have time now to really sit there and think on it, of their past life and in the life in which they are going to try to make for themselves. Um, and with that, I it kind of makes me really want to read the books, because now it makes me really want to sit there and know, what did all Anne really have to write on this.
I'm going to make you sit down with me and we're going to watch season 1 and season 2 together. And I'm going to have to experience every reaction. So mark it on your calendar.
Uh,
Stevie, I have a question. Yeah, Matt has a question. Yes, I would love to answer a question.
we'll have questions, sure.
She
Uh,
spent a lot of time in her novels asking what is human, and that's really incredible. I agree, Jasper.
you should read them, Gothic, for sure. Like
Mm,
it kind of also gives me, oh my god, what's her name? Mary Shelley Frankenstein vibes, where Mary Shelley did not just want a monster, but a monster that does wish to be human and everything. But I don't really think she could have wrote that quite as well. Um, Pretty vampire heavy in your horror taste. Do you prefer the
um,
From Dusk Till Dawn movie series or the TV
or the
series one?
TV series. You know what? I'm going to be a
Hmm,
really bad vampire fan and say I haven't seen the TV series.
you're not missing a whole lot.
So I would say I prefer the movie.
Like
And actually, From Dusk Till Dawn is probably not up there in my favorite vampire films. I'm more of a gothic vampire kind of girl, but I do like From Dusk Till Dawn. I think it's a classic, but I have not seen the TV series, so I definitely will watch it.
everything after Selma Hayek leaves is a blur to me,
Oh,
but
I love
yeah.
Grindhouse. Like Grindhouse was
Oh yeah.
amazing. I loved Grindhouse. I loved Planet Terror, and I
Um,
loved what was the one with Zoe Bell.
I is that Death Proof then? Yeah,
Yes, Death Proof.
yeah. Um, from Dusk Till Dawn is a very, yeah, it's a very different type. It's more, it's trying to go back to the '80s fun vampires, but like also try to give it a rich back history of, I think it's the Mayans, if I remember correctly. That was towards the end of it. Oh, it's been forever. I can't remember, but yeah, like it's like saying cyberpunk, the genre versus the
Oh, Matt,
game.
yeah, I gotcha. Like the
Yeah,
Grindhouse genre. Yes. Sorry, I went off on a tangent about
yeah.
Grindhouse.
We could talk
Sorry.
here about vampires, and because if we're really gonna sit there and get into vampire talk, I will talk hours with Nosferatu, not just the Murnau one, but also the uh Werner
Oh,
Herzog.
the Warner Herzog one was amazing. I love that one so
I
much.
All you got to do is say Isabella Ajani, and I'm fucking hooked to that damn screen.
I
I
know
love
she
that
is
woman.
gorgeous. She is gorgeous. I love that movie. I had that one on VHS for the longest time.
Possession destroyed me, but when you see her in Nosferatu, it is, I guess, kind of like maybe like a, not really a spiritual sequel, but like something to form kind of almost for the Anne Rice stuff. More in the, not in the like what is human thing, but more of the atmosphere in which it was
The
built.
atmosphere of that movie is so incredible, and the artwork for the main cover is what drew me into it in the first place. It's so beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's one of the very few remakes also too that like the filmmaker was like, I remade it just like the original. He was like, you didn't add nothing new. I was like, the first one was perfect, and it's like I just love Werner's kind of attitude towards it.
Yes,
He only
yeah.
added what he felt he needed to do for the modern day audience, but other than that, it stuck strictly to what the actual Nosferatu film was. But folks, we are gonna wrap this up here and everything. Stevie, where can the lovely people find you on the socials?
You can find me. I'm on Twitch as StevieSarah, and you can actually, if you do go over there to that, you can see where my Insta is. I don't do much on TikTok, but I am Stevie Smith on TikTok if you want to find me on there. But yeah, my socials are listed on my Twitch bio, so please head on over there to check me out if you're so inclined.
right? And everything. We again, Stevie needs to sit me down to watch Interview with the Vampire the series. I
I'm gonna chain him down Clockwork Orange style.
no comment, no comment. That'll get me canceled. But, but yeah, do it now. What horror? Don't, no, no, no. I'm claustrophobic. Please don't. But yeah, do definitely do go follow Stevie. Wonderful, wonderful human being and everything. You can find her again at the socials that she said. And with that being said, this has been an awesome season 1. Next month we start recording for season 2. Well, when this comes out, I'll already have season 2 started in the bag. But I will sit there and say our next guest will be Sydney Wrights. What are we going to talk about? We have no clue, but we will see you guys in December when
Exciting.
that recording happens and everything. And we're now going to start doing 2 episodes per month. We're gonna start doing those. You guys sit there really definitely seem to really love these. I've been doing 1 per month, and I was like, you know what? I'll give you guys an extra one and everything. So season 2, 2 episodes per month. Let's do it. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys all later.
Bye. Thanks, guys.